Last month, the blue ribbon panel that the President appointed, called the Augustine Commission, released a summary of the findings from the final report on the nation's space program. That report has not come out in detail. We await its release. And in part, what it says is that the U.S. human spaceflight program that's made America a world leader in science and technology, quote, appears to be on an unsustainable trajectory, end of quote. Specifically, the report will say, quote, our space program is being asked to pursue goals without the appropriately allocated resources, end of quote. So this country stands at a crossroads for NASA with a stark choice before us. We can continue on the path that we're on, underfunding and under-allocating our space program, or we can choose to act. We can choose to act by ensuring that the appropriate resources are allocated to meet the goals laid out before us, or not. And the Augustine Commission was abundantly clear. It said that while the current path that we're on is unsustainable, quote, meaningful human exploration is possible under a less constrained budget, with an additional $3 billion a year. That's $30 billion additional over a 10-year period. These are not my words, these are the Augustine Commission words. And now, even though we face uncertain economic times, certainly in a recession, the challenge of finding that additional money is one that we cannot afford to ignore. And so, Mr. President, today, I want to add my voice to others from this chamber in asking the President to divert $3 billion to NASA from the unspent portion of the $787 billion in the economic stimulus recovery money. The stimulus bill that we passed by a one-vote margin back earlier this year was to get this economy moving again, to stimulate, to electric shock therapy the economy back to life by getting dollars out, turned over, and jobs created. And that is a very good source for this money for NASA to be able to continue on the road of what almost every American wishes for, to continue to explore the unknown. Now, we have identified other possible revenue sources for future years, but no matter how much we find by scraping the bottom of the barrel, it's still going to come down to one thing. It's going to be the President's decision. If we remember, like President John Kennedy before him, a president has to decide and has to commit the resources, and if this president will do it, it will commit the space program that will keep America a global leader in science and technology. And why do I say that? Just think of all of the effects and the spin-offs that came out of the Apollo program when President Kennedy said, we're going to the moon and back, and that was within a 9-year period. Currently, our space program is funded at less than 1% of the total federal budget. Yet our space program has always paid back dividends, both tangible and intangible, which is vastly greater than the initial investment. And the additional funding for NASA that I have indicated here will ensure that the United States remains at the very top for the peaceful use of technology for the betterment of humankind. And of singular importance, this commitment will help us to inspire the next generation of explorers and the next generation of scientists and technologists and engineers and mathematicians and educators. And almost everybody unanimously agrees we should be planning to keep the International Space Station, which we are still continuing to complete its construction and equipping, to keep that going at least until 2020, and to maximize the return on what has become a substantial $100 billion investment. The International Space Station has proven to us that many nations can work together on enormous endeavors in a peaceful fashion. The station, just now being completed, it's at its dawn, and its many economic, scientific, and social payoffs from our investment are still to be realized. But the international partnerships formed during the design, the construction, and the ongoing operation of the station have proven something, Mr. President. It's proven that the world community looks to the United States for leadership in space. And many of those world's nations are patiently waiting to see which direction our country chooses, which direction this country chooses as a result of our president's decision. And at the same time, these many nations are prepared to follow the U.S. lead in the form of additional commitments and resources in space. So to turn our backs on space at this moment would have negative effects that would reverberate around the world. It's interesting that last night, President Obama hosted several young people at the White House for a stargazing party. Oh, that must have been very exciting for those young people. And they had the opportunity to view in vivid detail craters on the moon, the rings of Saturn, the colors of the planet Jupiter, and the belt of the Milky Way. Many of those kids, the first time they ever even thought of viewing those things. And the wonderment displayed by those children and many of those adults there as well prove once again that the space program inspires. And if all goes well, Mr. President, tomorrow morning, America will successfully plow a rocket into the surface of the moon to help determine conclusively whether large quantities of water can be found just beneath the lunar surface. Imagine, this mission may reveal new knowledge about a source for water for astronauts in the future and fuel for their rockets to explore the cosmos. A suitably funded space program is the best catalyzing element to gather and organize the energies and abilities of this nation. And in return, this program will pay many dividends, perhaps the most important of which is to inspire, encourage, and motivate the next generation of Americans. And so, Mr. President, I ask my colleagues to join me in supporting Senator Mikulski on her appropriations bill, but then to join me in supporting increased funding for NASA and of this nation's space program.